half a step to the right. A touch forward, quarter step to the left. Phew, this is hard work.
May I put it down now, Mr. Curry? It's very heavy.
Heavy? That rock's not heavy. Why, if it wasn't for this splinter in my thumb, I could carry 3 of those at a time.
Paddington, your cocoa is ready.
I'll be back after my cocoa and marmalade sandwich. I need to build up my strength, Mr. Curry.
Strength? Ha! It's all that cocoa and marmalade that's got you out of shape.
If someone like Mr. Curry could lift 3 rocks, maybe I was out of shape.
Paddington, you're going to spill the cocoa.
It's all right, Mrs. Bird. I could lift 3 cocoa trays. My arms are a bit stiff from moving all those rocks.
He's as quick as an eel, healthy as a horse, and strong as a bear. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Grant Stalwart! He can lift bags of cement, bend iron bars, crush walnuts with his biceps.
The Browns didn't have cement bags or iron bars, but they did have walnuts.
Oops. Oh. Paddington, what on earth are you doing?
Is it cracked, Mrs. Bird?
No, but I'm beginning to think you may well be.
You can do all this and more with my world-famous Grant Stalwart bodybuilding system.
£50 worth of Grant Stalwart equipment, yours for only £5! Plus a money-back guarantee if you're not completely satisfied.
I could be as strong as Grant Stalwart and get a great bargain. It was too good to be true.
Don't forget the £5 down payment. The balance is due 2 weeks after delivery.
I had £5 saved in case of emergency, but getting in shape was more important. And sure enough, the Grant Stalwart bodybuilding system arrived a week later. The only trouble was, you were supposed to fix the springs to a convenient wall, but none of the Browns' walls seemed very convenient.
It sounds like Paddington is rearranging his furniture.
He's been behaving rather oddly lately. Just last week he sent a walnut zooming all over the kitchen. That bear just doesn't know his own strengths.
I decided there had to be a better way. This was much better.
Bear? What are you doing to my face?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Curry. I didn't know you were poking your nose in my business. These are my Grant Stalwart exercise springs. They're meant for 7-stone weaklings. I expect if you had a go, you could become an 8-stone weakling in no time at all. It's worth £50, and there's a money-back guarantee.
Money-back guarantee, eh? In that case, it needs a proper test. I suggest you use my attic. And don't you worry, we'll get our money back for this shoddy merchandise.
Our money?
Of course, I'll have to deduct the costs of ointment for my nose, damage to my fence, use of my attic as a testing site.
Mr. Curry has a way of twisting words around to make the most outrageous things sound perfectly reasonable. I was surprised at how easily the screws went into the wall. But easy come, easy go. And no matter where I tried, they just wouldn't hold. I needed to shed more light on the problem. Aha! There, that ought to.
Bear, have you finished installing that? Bear! What are you doing to my wall?
I thought it might be handy having the instructions for easy reference.
Bah! Who needs instructions? I'll just warm up with some of my old army exercises. Then expose this Grant Stalwart system for the junk it is. Signature. Paw print. This document hereby transfers ownership of the Grant Stalwart exercise system to me, and I am henceforth entitled to all monies owing on the guarantee.
Grant Stalwart.
None other than...
Here now, is that Grant Stalwart? That bear doesn't own the exercise springs. I do. It's all there in black and white. I, Mr. Curry, am due the £50 refund.
You are indeed the lucky owner. And while I am very generous in my refund policy, the equipment must be returned in its original condition. Not covered in paint and glue. This seems to be some kind of fur stuck in the coils. Plus, the £5 is the down payment. You, Mr. Curry, owe me £45.
£45?
Oh! Help! Get him off of me! Perhaps you wouldn't mind giving my bill to your friend once he comes to. And, here's something to keep this little incident quiet.
£10?
Yes.
Mr. Stalwart gave me £10, which I would like to donate to the Home for Retired Bears. But best of all, the Browns all say I'm stronger both inside and out than all the world's Currys and Stalwarts combined.
Oh, Paddington, my dear strong bear. Mi orso fuerte.
I was about to go to America to help Mr. Gruber with his book, The World and Its Wonders, when Mr. Curry tricked me into fixing the fence between our two gardens.
I thought I told you to fix this loose board before painting it, and you missed a spot.
But Mr. Curry, the loose board is a handy way to go between our two gardens, and your fence is a touch too high.
There's nothing like a good high fence to keep the peace.
And exactly what is going on here?
I had a feeling Mrs. Bird didn't think the fence was high enough.
Washington, D.C., capital of the United States of America. Come along, Mr. Brown. There's a tour of the House of Representatives at 2 o'clock.
435 members are elected to the House of Representatives.
435 in one house. Do they each have a bedroom, or do some have to share?
It's not that kind of house, actually. And we're in for a special treat today. Professor Patrick Barrington, the international relations expert, will be addressing the House.
This house doesn't have an address.
Afraid it's a no-show on Professor PB. His flight has been delayed from Peru via London.
Well, that's too bad. But we can still watch Congress in action.
Excuse me.
Who are you? Identify. You're PB?
Well, yes, I am PB.
PB has landed. Repeat, PB has landed.
From London, but I started off in darkest Peru.
Yep, positive ID. London via Peru. Just like you said, short, eccentric, wears hat indoors. And you weren't kidding about that beard. Hurry!
Oh.
It's time to give your speech to Congress.
A speech? What would you like me to talk about?
PB requests speech topic. Right. A thematic approach to international sovereignty with respect to boundaries, borders, and disputed land claims. Or, what makes a good neighbor?
Now, neighbours was something I knew a bit about.
So please welcome Professor Patrick Barrington.
Here, PB, some congressional records to stand on.
This is certainly a much bigger house than the one I'm used to. And you're all one family?
Quiet! It's Mr. Brown!
What makes a good neighbour? Well, Mr. Curry and Mrs. Bird would both say you need a good fence. And it isn't often they agree. Mrs. Bird would like them a mile high, but I'd prefer them lower, so you can touch the top when on tiptoes. And there should always be at least one loose board. So that you can get back things that your neighbour took without asking your permission.
That is not Professor Patrick Barrington. I want that imposter in my office immediately.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Professor!
Professor, excuse me, Professor.
Can we print that?
When you say tiptoe, would that be your toes or the average American?
Please come with me.
Professor,
Can I just ask you?
The President wished to see you in the Oval Office.
Mr. Brown! Mr. Brown!
Your speech on international borders was a big hit with Congress. Paddington, is it?
Yes, sir. Mr. President.
One thing. Wouldn't that loose board lead to a flood of immigration?
Oh, no. You won't flood the garden if you remember to turn off the hose.
Your metaphors certainly are brilliant. But perhaps you could explain...
What's a metaphor?
You're both brilliant and crafty.
I once forgot to turn off Mr. Curry's garden hose. I wasn't very popular.
I admire someone who admits to his mistakes.
Oh, I've had plenty of practice. Bears are good at making mistakes.
Mr. Brown! Mr. Brown! Oh!
Mr. Gruber!
Please, Mr. President. Mr. Brown didn't mean to give the professor speech. It was just a mistake.
You mean I wasn't supposed to give a speech?
That's me and the professor last year in Helsinki. It would take the professor an hour to tell me that this apple is red. Then another hour to remind me that there are also green ones and yellow ones. The professor, gentlemen, is a windbag.
Oh.
But you, Paddington, get right to the point. Good fences make for good neighbors. Not too high, not too low. A loose board is always handy. Learn from your mistakes. Great stuff. Why, you cut through all the nonsense like a hot knife through...
Marmalade?
I was about to say butter. But yes, marmalade's better than butter. Do you mind if I use that in a speech, Paddington?
Not at all. In fact...
All clear, Mr. President.
It's Mrs. Bird's best. There are lots of chunks.
That's it. Instead of the melting pot, where everything is the same consistency, we have the marmalade pot. Smooth, but with a lot of chunks mixed in. I owe you one, Paddington. Is there anything I can do for you? Any problem you need help with?
Well, there is one thing. When the President offered his help, I thought of Mrs. Bird, Mr. Curry, and the fence.
I certainly hope that bear is back to the work on my fence.
Halt! Who goes there?
It's me, Mr. Curry!
Curry activity reported in Fence Quadrant 3. Do you read me?
Please be so kind as to return the intruder to his side of the fence.
Good morning, Paddington.
Paddington? My name's Paddington, Mr. Brown.
I know it is Paddington, but I have a terrible cold. And so does Mrs. Brown.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is. Since Mrs. Bird is away and our washing machine is broken, a laundryman is coming this morning. Can you take care of it? It's really very simple. The clothes are in the kitchen. And you'll find the money on the table.
What I need is something with wheels.
I thought you said Paddington was going to take care of the laundry.
He was.
The laundryman.
I'm coming! Nobody home.
Hurry, Paddington! The laundryman is leaving!
Don't worry, Mr. Brown. I'll catch him.
Wait!
Mr. Brown, what have you got there?
It's the Brown's laundry. I was trying to catch the laundry van, but I'm afraid I've missed it.
Why don't you take the clothes to the laundrette?
The laundrette? Of course! What exactly is a laundrette, Mr. Gruber?
It's really quite simple, Mr. Brown. The laundrette is a place where you wash your own clothes in coin-operated machines.
It doesn't sound very simple, Mr. Gruber.
Now first, you have to sort your clothes into piles according to the color. Then, you put them into a separate machine for each pile. Make sure you have the right coins. And when the machine stops spinning, you simply take out the clothes and put them in the dryer.
Now, are you quite sure you know how to do the laundry?
Oh, yes. Mr. Gruber explained how to do everything. He said it's all very simple, really.
And what do you think you should do first?
I have to sort the clothes into piles.
I guess you do know what you're doing.
Now, let's see. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to need 19 machines.
Oh, you only need 3. One for the whites, one for the darks, and one for the colours.
Oh, that is simple.
No, those machines are for wet clothes. Stop! I meant those are the dryers. You have to wash your clothes first.
Maybe doing the laundry wasn't so simple after all.
I say, Bear. What a stroke of luck.
Luck?
Yes, running into you, I mean. I see you're doing the laundry.
Yes?
Well, you can do my sweaters at the same time. No point us both throwing money down the drain, is there?
Well...
Wonderful! Just drop them off when you're finished and make sure they're perfectly clean.
Mr. Curry is always trying to get something for nothing. I bought a whole box of detergent. Mr. Curry did say he wanted his sweaters perfectly clean.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. So, Mr. Gruber said doing the laundry was simple?
Oh dear, I think I'm in trouble again.
I'll tell you what. Seeing as how we're not very busy and it's obviously your first time here, why don't I get you started again? It's not every day we have a bear's washing to do.
Thank you, and I hope it'll be a long while before you have to again. Finally, everything was working perfectly. Then the washing disappeared. Help! The clothes! They're gone!
No, they haven't. It only looks as if they've disappeared because they're spinning round so fast. It's a sort of a phenomenon.
I think I shall have to remind Mr. Gruber about the phenomenon.
Careful there. These sweaters are wool, aren't they?
Oh no, they're Mr. Curry's.
Well, I hope this Mr. Curry is tall and thin and he knows more about doing laundry than you do.
Somehow, I doubted it.
I knew coming home early was the right thing to do. Obviously, something's been going on here.
Paddington's been doing the laundry.
And I saw the laundrette full of soap bubbles.
But Paddington was supposed to catch up with the laundryman.
Huh. I have a nasty feeling he didn't.
Hello.
I never expected to see this. I couldn't have done it better myself.
I do hope it's all right, Mrs. Bird. I had a bit of a phenomenon in the laundrette.
A phenomenon? I think you must be mistaken, dear. A phenomenon means something strange.
That's exactly it, Mrs. Brown.
Ah, Bear. I wanted to thank you for washing my sweaters. I don't know what you did. They were always rather big, but they fit perfectly now.
I'm sure it's because you're long and thin, Mr. Curry.
Perhaps there was a phenomenon at the laundrette after all.
Yes. Well, thanks just the same. And here, a toffee for your troubles.
Speaking of phenomenons, it's not every day Mr. Curry repays people for their help.
You're right, Mrs. Bird. So I think I shall make this one last. I had just watched an episode of Dick Dale Private Eye on television and learned that a good detective is always on the lookout for suspicious characters. Dick Dale says you have to keep your eyes peeled, then follow the scent. But I had been at it all morning and was still looking for a mystery to solve. After all, what's a detective without a mystery? I hoped that sooner or later something would turn up. But perhaps it was now time to look somewhere else. Dick Dale gets a lot of his cases from the police. They call him in whenever they have a really difficult crime to solve. So I thought I might try my luck at the local police station.
You saw a suspicious character hiding in a dustbin? Short, with a large nose, dressed in a red hat and duffel coat? Oh, yes, madam. We'll get onto it right away. Yes, right away. Good afternoon. Here, haven't I seen you somewhere before?
My name's Paddington Brown, and I live near here. I was wondering if you have any crimes that need solving.
Crimes?
I could do some undercover work, like Dick Dale. Bears are good at that.
Dick who?
You've never heard of Dick Dale, Private Eye? He's the greatest detective in the world.
Oh, he is he? And I suppose you are Sherlock Holmes. Hey?
The police weren't very cooperative. I was getting pretty discouraged, but then I struck it lucky when a fog rolled in. Everyone knows that the greatest detective cases start in a fog. I made my way up the Portobello Road, just to see what I might run into. Ooh, ow! Oh! That poor lady! She needs help!
Oh, hello there, Frank. How are things in the store?
Not good. We've had a run of thefts lately. We think it might be an inside job, but we can't figure out how they're getting the stuff past our security system.
Officer, you've got to do something! I've just seen a lady being kidnapped!
Hang on a moment. Aren't you that bear who came into the station just now?
Yes, and I saw the whole thing. A man with no hair grabbed her from behind and started shaking her. Then he carried her in there.
In there? That's Kimball's department store. I can assure you, my friend, no one's been kidnapped in there.
Don't pay any attention to him, Frank. He's just seen too many detective shows on television.
Something told me I wasn't getting anywhere. There was nothing for it but to take over the case myself.
Hey, you! Wait a minute!
I had to stay out of sight until I could find out what was going on.
He's short, with a large nose, dressed in a red hat and duffel coat.
There he is!
Sir Lancelot for men?
Excuse me?
It's cologne. Try some. Aha! Methinks it is lunchtime. It gets a bit hot in here.
I needed a disguise. Something to make me inconspicuous as I looked for the man with no hair. Sir Lancelot for men?
Eh?
My disguise paid off. I finally spotted the kidnapper. But now that I'd found him, I needed to get some evidence.
Hey, come back here! Stop, thief!
It's him. Spread out.
What are you doing there? Nothing. Nothing at all.
Give me that camera.
Sir Lancelot for men?
Hey! All right, the game's up.
Wait, you have to look at this.
I know that man. He works on the mannequins and dress dummies.
There she is. That's the lady he grabbed in the alley.
That's no lady. That's a dummy.
A dummy?
Here, what's this?
So, that's how he smuggled the goods out of the store, inside this dummy. Incredible!
But what about the man with no hair?
I'm afraid he's probably long gone by now. What is it?
It's him.
How did you know it was him?
Simple. Sir Lancelot for men.
I underestimated you, my friend. How did you ever get to be such a good detective?
I did what Dick Dale does. I kept my eyes peeled. Then I simply followed the scent. Bears do it all the time. Mr. Gruber and I were visiting the Great Wall of China for his book, The World and Its Wonders. China is also the home of fireworks, kites and dragons. So I really shouldn't have been too surprised to find myself saving a dragon from a high place.
Oh, do be careful, Mr. Brown.
What are you doing? Don't move! Thank you, Mr. Gruber.
It's a good thing Mrs. Bird lent you her umbrella.
She did say it might come in useful. Look, Mr. Gruber, I broke the dragon.
They're circus performers, Mr. Brown.
Excellent! Wonderful! That's just what a high-wire dragon act needs. A spectacular finish. My name is Sha Jiju, and this is my traveling circus.
I am Mr. Gruber, and this is Mr. Brown. We came to watch the show after visiting the Great Wall. Neither of us have ever seen a Chinese circus before.
Sadly, that is the same with many people. As the weeks pass, the crowds grow smaller, and our circus grows poorer. But now a gifted performer is among us.
Oh, yes? Where?
The bear!
Bears are good at performing, Mrs. Jiju.
Perhaps I may ask you to come tomorrow and find more ways to improve our circus, like with the dragon act.
They don't seem very happy with our improvement.
What do you say, Mr. Brown? Our circus experience would be a nice addition to my book, The World and Its Wonders.
I think I shall like being in a circus, Mr. Gruber. I wasn't sure what Mrs. Jiju was worried about. The plate spinner didn't need any help, and I couldn't think of any way to improve the balancing act. But I wanted to do a good job for Mrs. Jiju, so I decided to take a seat and watch the show. I'm sorry, I seem to have taken your seat.
I think Sha Jiju wanted us to observe, Mr. Brown, not perform. But that was a very good trick.
Coming up with ideas was proving to be very difficult. Even if Mrs. Bird says I get too many ideas for my own good. Here, let me help.
Mr. Brown! I think you'd better get down.
I only wish I could.
Come back, Mr. Brown, come back. Turn around, Mr. Brown, turn around.
brilliant!
Oh dear. I don't think we're doing very well, Mr. Gruber.
Perhaps tomorrow, Mr. Brown. Now, I wonder where we should start today.
I have the feeling some performers would like us to start at the beginning, Mr. Gruber, before we'd even left London.
Oh, he's very good.
I'm sure he doesn't want our help.
Mr. Brown, I'm afraid I need some assistance.
So do I, Mr. Gruber.
Oh, goodness. This is most undignified.
So is this, Mr. Gruber.
We haven't come up with a single idea, Mr. Brown.
Mrs. Bird would be very disappointed.
There you are. I've been looking all over for you. I want to thank you for all your wonderful ideas.
Our ideas?
What ideas?
You see? We haven't had a crowd this big in months. Now hurry and get into costume. We'll be on soon.
On? I hope my stint in the barrel went unnoticed. I don't think I should like to repeat that performance.
And the cyclist wasn't very pleased about having fur in his eyes.
Hurry, follow me.
Shouldn't we rehearse first? Oh, that was invigorating.
Well done, Mr. Gruber. He seemed to like our ideas, Mr. Gruber, but what'll we do for an encore?
Perhaps we can try getting down. You know, Mr. Brown, they do say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But I think we learned a few while we were in China.
We certainly did, Mr. Gruber. But home is where you hang your hat.
And practice makes perfect. Are you ready?
Ready, Mr. Gruber.
Alley-oop!
Dear Aunt Lucy, my latest adventure came about all because I'd managed to upset my neighbour. Again.
You started a fire in Mr. Curry's kitchen?
It was an accident, but being Mr. Curry, he blamed it all on me. What's happening, Mr. Gruber?
The police have arrested that man. They must believe he's done something wrong.
Like accidentally starting a fire in someone's kitchen?
Oh, I don't think the police will arrest you without proof, Mr. Brown. In this country, you're considered innocent until proven guilty by a court of law.
I am? Good. I shall have to tell Mr. Curry that. What's a court of law, Mr. Gruber? And that's how I ended up visiting a law court.
Excuse me, sir. Would you mind putting your suitcase through the scanner?
I hope it comes out the other side.
Don't worry, sir. We've never lost one yet.
What do you do if you find something suspicious?
If need be, we blow it up with that. May I ask you what the small square object is?
It's a marmalade sandwich. You can see the chunks on the X-ray.
Well, sir, I'm afraid we don't allow food in court. I must ask you to put it in this bag while you're on the premises.
An important thing, Mr. Brown, is that the courts are always open to the public. For example, I don't believe it.
Mr. Brown? Yes, that's me. Well, come along then, the court's ready for you. I didn't want to break the no food in court policy.
There we go. Ready to see a little justice at work, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown?
Let us begin. Good morning. I'm Cloudsworthy, the prosecuting counsel. Please take the stand.
Thank you very much. I wasn't sure why Mr. Cloudsworthy wanted me to stand in a box, but it did have the best view in the room.
Mr. Brown, do you swear to...
Oh no, I never swear. It's rude.
No, that's not what I meant. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Of course. Aunt Lucy taught me never to tell lies.
Silence! Who is this Aunt Lucy? And why isn't she listed as a witness?
I can't find any mention of her, my lad.
So you don't plan to call her?
I don't think she'd hear you even if you did. Aunt Lucy's in Peru.
Peru? With respect, my lad, but I don't think Aunt Lucy is very important.
Not important. Aunt Lucy is very important. You should ask Mrs. Bird.
Mrs. Bird?
Really, Mr. Cloudsworthy, you'll have to do a better job keeping track of your witnesses. Call Mrs. Bird.
Calling Mrs. Bird! I don't think Mrs. Bird will hear you either. She's out shopping.
Mrs. Bird's out shopping? Really, this is becoming intolerable. Enough! I'll deal with the missing witnesses later. But right now, perhaps Mr. Cloudsworthy can present what's left of his case.
Yes, my lad. In the case against Mr. Brown and his neighbour, Mr. Murray...
Curry.
Murray? It says so right here.
I'm sure it does, but my neighbour's name is Mr. Curry.
Hold it. Careful now. Sit. Sit. Suspicious package on bench outside Court 3. Request immediate assistance. Not me, you twit!
All in all, I was very impressed at how fast the courts had taken charge of Mr. Curry's kitchen case. And then he accused me of setting fire to his feather duster deliberately, but it was just an accident.
A feather duster? Upon my soul, what is this court coming to?
I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation for Mr. Murray... I mean, Mr. Curry's outrageous behaviour, my lad.
This is an emergency. Please evacuate the premises. Remain calm.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, I'm Mr. Brown.
I just saw a Mr. Brown in court for a case against his neighbour.
Oh, no. The Mr. Brown I'm looking for wasn't here to go to court. You must be talking about another Mr. Brown.
Mr. Gruber.
Mr. Brown.
Yes? I'm Mr. Brown, and I'm here for a case against my neighbour, Mr. Murray.
Murray here. Who's calling? You! If you hadn't built that fence and cut off my access to the river, none of this would have happened.
Well, I wouldn't have had to build that fence if your dog had stopped misbehaving in my garden.
You could loosen a slat in the fence. That's what Mr. Curry and I did. And now we can both get through easily.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
Good work.
Well, whatever the confusion, I'm glad it's all cleared up. Now we just have that bomb to worry about.
That was my marmalade sandwich you've just blown up.
Your marmalade sandwich?
I left it outside the courtroom.
I don't wonder you're upset. This is very good marmalade.
It's some of Mrs. Bird's special.
Mrs. Bird? Isn't she the witness who's out doing her shopping? This is a very serious offence, you know.
Mr. Gruber says that in an English court of law, you're innocent until you're proven guilty.
True, Mr. Brown. Very true.
And speaks his mind, but trouble's never far behind. Left Peru and sailed to England alone. There he met the Browns and they took him home. Now a new life has begun. He's Windsor Garden's favorite son, 'cause he always does his best to help everyone. When a problem appears, he never misses a beat and always finds a way to land on his feet. Has his very own unique point of view. Looks at everything as if it's brand new. He is friendly and polite, and he tries to do things right. But he gets in sticky messes just the same. He's curious and speaks his mind, but trouble's never far behind. It's Paddington Bear, he's one of a kind.
I'm Paddington Bear.